Hello and welcome back to the Loyal Sons Show. That's at the Loyal Sons on all the social medias. Follow us there, follow us here for Pitt sports content you won't want to miss. If you love Jeff Cable and hate Pat Narduzzi, not really, but right now we do. This is the place for you. The Loyal Sons Show, a safe, sunshiny place for your Pitt athletics fix, brought to you by Section 5. Squid, tonight, when this gets released, we're releasing on Wednesday, right? This episode will drop. The Pitt basketball Panthers will be back in action at the Peterson Event Center. It's only an exhibition game. First game is on the first official regular season game is on Monday against NC-A&T, but they have the UPJ Mountain Cats at the Peterson Event Center tonight. I can't wait. I'll be in attendance. But before we get to actually preview basketball, do you want to preview basketball first, or you want to get FSU out of the way?
Let's do the happy stuff first. It's been a while.
Do the happy stuff? All right. That works for me. Well, Pitt basketball is back. Coming off a March Madness run, Jeff Capel got the boys back into the dance. It was maybe one of the most exciting Pitt basketball seasons of our lifetimes. I'm sure the drought played a big part of that, but I mean last year's team was so likable. I think we literally did a thank you episode for those guys who brought that joy back into our life. And now, quite frankly, fellas, we need you more than ever.
Oh, I've never been more excited for an exhibition basketball game before in my life.
I am more excited for Pitt versus UPJ in basketball than I am for Pitt, Florida State in football.
It might be similar scores. Pitt won't score that much in Florida State.
I was going to say,
but Florida State and Pitt might be pretty similar.
UPJ is going to score 3 points tonight. And if you're listening to this, I do want to say, like, if you're listening to this after Wednesday, this is not going to be a Pitt UPJ preview. We're not going to be breaking down who the Mountain Cats have coming back. This will be a basketball preview. So you can still enjoy this episode if you're listening on Thursday, Friday, whatever it may be.
And I'm going to knock on wood real quick. We are recording this before the game. So a couple years ago, Nike Sabande got a torn ACL in one of these games. They played Gannon, PSEC opponent. So hopefully we don't spend all this time previewing all these great players Pitt has, and hopefully they make it all healthy. So, yeah.
Knock on as much wood as you can find. I don't even know why you put that into the universe.
Reverse mush.
True. Fair enough. I guess we didn't record a show before the Nike Sabandi injury. So, So, where do we start? I do think that, I stated how much we need Pitt basketball right now with the debacle of the football season that's gone down and that we're in the midst of. I think the attendance at the Pete is going to be pretty rocking pretty early. And I think the attendance at the Pete will be one of the main beneficiaries of this absolutely brutal football season.
I cannot wait to go to games. I know last year, Dylan, you and I went to the opener. Very small crowd.
Oh, yeah.
I think you could kind of just sit wherever you wanted and nobody really cared because there are sections with like a couple people in the lower bowl. But the city has basketball fever again.
Yeah, I mean, with, if there's people listening to this who definitely aren't Steeler fans, but if you're a Pitt football fan and a Steelers fan and a Pirates fan, and quite frankly, couldn't tell you what the Pens are doing right now, you need some hope. And right now, Pitt basketball provides some of that hope. And I am afraid to jump to any conclusions, but I think this team has the potential to not only be good, but be really good. Going into last season is a much different feeling than last season. I think last season we might have half jokingly said we're getting back to the tournament this year, but I still think at the beginning of last year we would have said, we'll take an NIT appearance. Like the NIT is going to be a blast in March when we go up to New York for that. Whereas this year there is a bit of expectation. I think anything short of a tournament appearance would be considered a failure, considered, underachieving for this team. And Pitt went and added some guys. But I think we can just start breaking down the roster with the guy, the number one person who's going to make this team go, and that's Blake Hinson. Blake Hinson, obviously, leading scorer last year for Pitt, leading rebounder, second team All ACC. Jamarius Burton, first team All ACC last year. He was the one who really made these guys go. But Blake Hinson's going to have to be the guy to do that this year, and he looks the part. He's dropped some LBs, and everyone in practice, like one of the Guillermo or Jorge, I'm still mixing them up. I know we got to figure that out this year, but said in one of the pressers recently, like, none of us can guard him. Like, and I don't think that was a dig at any of his teammates' defensive abilities. He said, like, yeah, he's just too good. We can't guard him.
Yeah, I think most teams in the country will have problems guarding him. Last year, early on, we were like, what do you expect from Blake Hinson? Hasn't played in a while. Quickly realized he was a dude who could just shoot the lights out. And this year, it seems like he'll be able to do that and more. I know a lot of the preseason previews from national guys, like Jeff Goodman, all these guys for ESPN are saying this guy will continue to shoot. You don't forget how to shoot in an off season, and his inside game is what's going to take him to the next level. So I was a little bit disappointed he wasn't first team All ACC for the preseason. I think he could end up there. I think he'd average over 20 points a game.
Yeah, I think that's the type of guy we're expecting him to be, and quite frankly, I think Pitt is going to expect him to be that type of guy for them this year. He's going to carry a lot of the scoring load, and I think looking at what I thought with Blake Hinson last year was he kind of became a guy who was just, I'm going to catch and shoot threes, and I'm going to catch and shoot them. And if you're starting to pick up on that, I'm just going to catch them a little deeper, and I have the range to just keep going deeper and deeper. I think with the dropped weight, being in better shape, I saw some plays from him last year in the tournament. Like, he's hitting these against Xavier. There's a play early in the game where he just hits a turnaround fadeaway jumper on the baseline. And it's like, okay, that's a pro move. There's not a ton of guys in college hitting shots like that. If he can do a little bit more of that, how many plays last year did we see Blake Hinson put it on the ground? And instead of it being a Euro step for a layup, he just ran a guy over in the lane, in the paint. A lot of those offensive fouls, I think, will turn into easy layups this year. And if you have to respect him being able to put the ball on the floor and get to the rim, it's going to open some things up for him in the catch and shoot game, in the pull-up game. So he's a guy who averaged 15 points a game last year. I don't think it's out of the question at all to see him right around that 18, 19, 20 points per game, be a leading scorer in the ACC.
Yeah, he's a matchup nightmare. So some teams might have a guy big enough to bang with them, but you got to guard him from 35 feet. You might run into some other teams that don't have a guy that's like a power forward sized. So he'll be backing dudes down. Game by game, it might be a little bit different versions of Blake Hinson. So he won't just get, this game he's getting like a dozen threes up. There might be some games where he's getting to the free throw line, backing dudes down, which is going to be cool to see.
Yeah. And we've seen what Blake Hinson can do. We haven't seen what skinny Blake Hinson can do as much. So it'll be exciting to see that. But for the rest of this team and the rest of this breakdown, we really have to kind of just be able to extrapolate and go off things we've heard, but things we haven't really seen with our own eyes. And so the first guy I want to talk about with that is Ish Leggett. So Ishmael Leggett, transfer from Rhode Island. Averaged 16 points a game last year. Fairly inefficient, only shot about 39% from the floor. But he was on a bad Rhode Island team. So he's a guy who could put the ball in the hoop. But it seems like Ish is going to be looked at as that number 2 guy in terms of scoring the ball, having the ball in his hands a lot on the offensive side of the ball. And it seems like they think he can thrive in that number 2 role. He's the other guy they sent to ACC Media Day. So that leads me to believe that they think he's going to carry a pretty big load for this team offensively.
Yeah, a lot of the reports from his Rhode Island days where he didn't have basically anybody around him, so he was forced to try to do it all, and it got chaotic. So now that he's going to have guys around him that have been on a tournament team, he's going to have guys to turn to, pass to. He won't have to be the guy. So maybe with a little bit less volume, he'll be a little bit more efficient. But and we saw in the secret scrimmage, there's games where he can take over and be that guy, which is something I don't know if I really expected.
Yeah, I think in the secret scrimmage, he had 20 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists. I don't expect him to average numbers like that, but I do expect him to be a guy who can maybe give them 12, 4, and 4 every night. And I think that would be huge as the number 2 guy for them. Just looking at some of his splits last year, like I said, he only shot 39.3% from the field, 32% from 3, 85% from the free throw line, which is promising. And he did shoot 42% from 3 as a freshman at Rhode Island. So I think he can shoot the ball a little bit. I think having some of that pressure off of him as the go-to guy will open that up. But I think that's a big if, and I think that's a big thing that we're going to look for. And for Pitt to be able to replicate the type of scoring games they put together last year, they're going to need guys who can hit shots. You're going to have to replace Greg Elliott. You're going to have to replace Jamarius Burton, Nelly Cummings, Nike Sabandi. Are there guys who can step up and score the ball and shoot the ball? And that leads me to another guy who Pitt brought in through the portal this year is High Point transfer Zach Austin. Zach Austin going to start at the 3 for Pitt. Just an absolute Swiss Army knife. Guy stands about 6'7". He averaged 14 points, 6.7 rebounds, 2 threes a game, and 2 blocks in 63 career games. And he shot 42% from the field last year, 33% from 3. Not knocked down by any means, but once again, another guy who can stretch the floor for them. He's really intriguing as an athlete. We saw the videos from Spain where he's just dunking on every Spaniard in his path. I was worried if he kept doing that, they were gonna ship him out, tell him get this guy out of here. He's making a mockery of our Spanish basketball here, but another guy that they're going to lean on heavily.
Yeah, you need 3-and-D guys. I think we've been waiting for Will Jeffress to make a jump to become a 3-and-D guy, but we're not there yet. We'll get to him later, but Zach Austin, I think, can do that right now. Just a matter of, can he be a consistent enough shooter? Because I think everything else he does is what you want, like a high motor guy, great athlete. So he'll be a very useful guy. I'm happy with the portal this year. I was a little bit gun shy about the portal because we've had some misses, and it's like, are these guys who come up from these low majors ever really that good? But I think he's got the tools to be a good guy for this team.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's what they hoped Will Jeffress would be eventually here. You know, athletic, big defender, can catch and shoot threes, like you said, 3-and-D. So yeah, I mean, play the Will Jeffress role just much better than Will Jeffress has in his time at Pitt thus far.
Yeah, catch some alley-oops.
Yeah, bring down the Pete, bring down the house at the Pete.
With Nike Sabandi gone, someone's got to have some top 10 dunks. I think he's the candidate for that for sure.
Oh, absolutely. So those are 2 transfer guys, and then I'm not going to run through every guy on the roster here, but the other thing that we kind of have to just trust from what we've heard is that Bub Carrington's going to be the answer at the point guard position. And we have to make a ruling. We can't keep going back and forth on Carlton Carrington or Bub Carrington throughout the year. I know Bub's his nickname. It's his dad's nickname. It's his grandpa's nickname. They're all Carltons. He's the third. Are we just gonna roll with Bub?
Capel calls him Bub, so I think we gotta call him Bub too.
All right, stamp it. We've made a rolling. It's Bub Carrington from here.
I'm sure we'll
here on out.
post some Carlton dancing gifs if he has a big game or something, or like a buzzer beater 3. So we'll have it in our back pocket, but we're
All
on
right.
a first nickname basis with him.
All right, Bub it is. All right, Bub Carrington. So he's going to run the point for them, which I think was a surprise to a lot of Pitt fans. Coming into this, he was recruited more as a 2-guard. On a lot of recruiting sites, I guess I should say. I don't know what Pitt's plan, if this was Pitt's plan with him all along. But Jalen Lowe, the other freshman guard in this class, was considered more of the point guard, more natural pass first point guard. But all reports from within the team and in the media are that Bub Carrington's going to be the starting point guard. There's two sides of me with this. One, I'm like, wow, we have a 6'5" point guard who's known as one of the best shooters in his high school class, shoots the ball off the dribble, and pretty athletic for a point guard. A lot of videos of him jamming with 2 hands, and there's some buzz, some things I've heard that this staff thinks he can be an NBA guy, future NBA prospect. I've heard one and done thrown out. I'm really not going to buy into that yet because I'll just be really upset if he underperforms. But maybe he's young for his class, so it could be a guy who plays 2 years in college and then leaves. So that's one side of me. The other side of me is we have a freshman playing point guard, and no matter how highly touted you are, that typically doesn't lend itself to a winning team in college basketball. You like to have older guards. I mean, we're going from a team who is playing 24 and 23-year-old JB and Nelly Cummings to now a lot of those ball handling minutes being in 18 and 19-year-old Bub and Jalen Lowe.
And I think that's where Ish Leggett's going to be really important to help support the young point guard. So it's not going to be one guy orchestrating the whole offense. Like last year, Nelly was that guy. I mean, Burton was also that guy. They could have been the guy if the other wasn't there. It was like, you're a new Vance Fields, get the ball in this guy's hands, he'll get it to the right person. So I don't know if we have a guy who can run the offense on their own, but I think we have enough ball handlers to where one guy won't be overloaded. We didn't talk about Jalen Lowe yet. I think he was the front runner for this guy's a point guard. How much will we see him as a freshman? He'll definitely play. Might not be the starter, but he's going to get a lot of minutes because we need him to. So, we'll see who steps up out of that group. I think they can all be really solid contributors, but so far, Bub Carrington is like the flashy new toy. It's like this guy could be a great scorer at all levels.
Right.
Just seeing the things that he was doing in Spain and apparently the secret scrimmage again. We're going to talk about the secret scrimmage. It was the best thing to happen in the last few months. It gave us so much hope. Georgetown could be like the worst Power 5 or Group of 5, whatever you call it in college basketball nowadays.
6.
Yeah, whatever. They could be the worst out of all of them, and we beat them, and we feel we're on top of the world. But hey, if you can do it, I'm going to believe. I'm buying all the stock.
Yeah, I'm buying a lot of Bub Carrington stock, and I'm a little worried about it. I don't want to buy in too much, but I do think, we said it. Who's going to emerge from that group as the primary ball handler? Leggett's going to have to help out. Bub and Jalen are going to be asked to do a lot. I think they're going to go through some growing pains early, and I think Pitt fans have to remember that. And
Nelly Cummings did last year too. I don't think he's talked about it at all. Nelly Cummings was not good.
Rough early in the season. I mean, I think I tweeted at one point, it's very clear that this step up, like Nelly's not ready to play at this level. And boy, was I wrong. By the end of the year, he was one of the most efficient point guards in the ACC, averaging 5 assists a game. Sometimes it just takes time to adjust, whether that's moving up from a lower level of Division I basketball or there's going to be a transition from high school to college, and there's going to be some rough games. There's going to be a game where Carlton Carrington shoots 1 for 7
It's
and
Bub.
has
We just established this.
yeah, we just established it. My bad. There's gonna be games. Well, he'll be Carlton in games where he plays poorly. Bub
Okay.
all other times. There's gonna be games where Bub doesn't shoot the ball well, has 5 turnovers, and there's gonna be Pitt fans saying, "Bench him. He's not the guy. It should be Jalen Lowe. What are they doing? Capel did it again." People are gonna be calling for Dior Johnson to come back at some point in December, but they have to let them play through some of those mistakes early, and they have to be able to live and learn, and they're gonna have to learn on the fly, and they're gonna have to grow up quickly. But I do think if there's one small thing, like a silver lining that I can offer Pitt fans who are worried about these guys being freshmen, including myself, this is largely for myself, is both Jalen Lowe and Bub Carrington are the sons of coaches. Both their dads are very heavy in the grassroots basketball scene. Jalen's dad in Houston, Bub's dad in Baltimore. They're sons of coaches. So they've been coached hard. They've been coached up their whole lives. There's a lot of sons of coaches, and some of them don't work out. But it gives me a little more hope that, knowing that these guys come from basketball families, they've been around the game their whole lives, that they may be a little more mature. And I think that's one of the comments that the coaches and some of the older players have made about those two, is that they're mature for freshmen. They're not your average freshman.
Yeah, last year this team was older than the Oklahoma City Thunder, and it took them 3 weeks, a month to figure it out and get on a roll. So there'll be some scares against non-conference opponents, I'm sure. We have some good battles early in the season, so I think Capel talked about it the other day. He said he thinks one of the most impactful games last year was the VCU game, and it was one that they lost because that's when they figured it out. They found out who they were and what their identity was. They didn't know how to win yet. So they figured a lot of things out, but they couldn't pull it out in the end. I know there was a crazy last minute there. So that taught them how to win, how to gel with each other. So I'm eager to see how they do out of the gate. I'm eager to see how they do against, in these tournaments at Barclays, when the lights are the brightest and they play some real tough competition for the first time.
And they have Florida on the schedule. Florida's going to be good.
Yeah, Florida just blew somebody out in a secret scrimmage. I forget who, but they beat somebody good. So there'll be some tests. But where we are in November is not where we'll be in March. So hopefully they're just quick little speed bumps. And by December, when the ACC games roll around, they'll be a little bit more ready to run the offense and make plays for this team. Thankfully, there's a lot of good guys around.
Yeah, and that's the other thing here, is that they're not coming in like Xavier Johnson, Trey McGowan's, the last freshman guard tandem that was brought in. They were with that first Capel class, and I think they were a sign of, at one point, a sign of hope, a ray of light for this program. But those two had to do everything themselves. It was literally just give X the ball, give Trey the ball, let them go make a play.
Yeah, what are you going to do? Pick and pop with Kenny Chukwuka or Terrell Brown, or kick it to Cam Davis in the corner?
Right.
That's not this team.
Yeah, it was an empty cover. So you've got these young guys who are playing with guys who've played a lot of college basketball, some older guys, some talented guys. But once again, they're going to have to run the show at points, and that'll be probably the biggest question mark on this team this year, is how those freshmen step up. But enough about the freshmen, enough about the guards. I want to talk about the big guys, the triplets. They lost one of the quadruplets. Nate Santos transferred to Dayton. Nate, thank you for your service here. But we've got the Jorge and Guillermo Diaz-Graham, along with Fede Federico, guys who are going to fill out the front court. Papa Conte suffered a season-ending knee injury during the preseason, so he won't be suiting up for the Panthers this year. But those bigs, there's three of them who I think are pretty good. But this is another one of the biggest question marks for me on this Pitt team, is how that is going to shake out with the front court, what those minutes are going to look like. Because Federico, before his injury last year, looked like, I mean, by the end of the year, he looked like what, a top half of the ACC center. I mean, I think there were points at the end of the year where I was like, could he make like an honorable mention all ACC?
Yeah, he turned into a guy that was a problem for teams on defense. I don't know how well I'm remembering it, but I'm pretty sure he was kind of just out there running around early in the season. He wasn't really fully like that anchor that the team needed on defense. I think the defense was pretty terrible at the beginning of the season. So he figured it out on defense, which is really all we asked. Like Fetty's get rebounds, protect the rim a little bit, and that's that. John Hughley goes down, but he starts playing more, and he was getting double doubles. He was blocking dudes. He was hanging with Baycott. So I'm really excited for Fetty. Maybe more so than the Twins, which is kind of crazy because I think what we saw towards the end of the year from Fetty is like this is a guy that is going to be an anchor that makes everyone on defense better.
Yeah, he averaged 6.5 points, 5 rebounds a game last year, 1.7 blocks, which is actually leads the ACC in returning players for blocks per game.
And I think this team's going to need to rely on defense a little bit more. Last year, it was how many threes can we make? A lot of times it came down to if we shoot this percentage from 3, we're going to win. If not, we're going to lose. This year, they might have to be a little bit more gritty and win by a little bit more low-scoring games. And I just talked about Fetty being a dude on defense. Can the Twins step in for him whenever he's in foul trouble? Or, yeah, it's getting thin there. But the top 3 we have there, like a lot.
Yeah, I think so. We just talked about how good Fetty was last year and how much he meant to this team. And I'm still not completely sure that he's the best option at the 5 for them. Guillermo Diaz-Graham was thrown into the fire right before the NCAA tournament. And I think going into that game against Mississippi State, I think we were all a little worried, like, is he going to be able to bang with these guys? And he looked overmatched at points in that game, and then he made the game-winning block at the end of the game. He made some big-time plays for them. Then against Iowa State, he has 9 points, 8 rebounds, 3 blocks. Against Xavier, he has 11 points, 8 rebounds, 3 blocks. He steps out and hits some threes in the tournament. Like, there's a piece with Guillermo Diaz-Graham that makes me think, like, his ceiling, I think, is higher than Federico. I don't think that's really debatable. But I think the floor is a little higher with Federico than it is with Guillermo. And maybe it just turns into whoever the hot hand is, whoever we feel better matchup wise with. Maybe they figure out a way to play them together and play some big lineups. With, like you said, there's a team that's probably going to have to defend a little better. I think they're built to defend better than last year's team was. Last year they were playing JB, Nelly, Nike. I mean, that's a lineup with, and Greg Elliott. You might be playing 3 guys who are all, 6'3", 6'4", or smaller. There's a chance this year where they trot out a lineup with Blake Hinson at 6'7", Guillermo at 6'11", Fetty at 7 foot. Like, are they playing all 3 of those guys at the same time? Zach Austin 6'7". So there's a chance. Bub Carrington 6'5". Like, there's a chance that they can be really big, really long, and they could be special defensively. They might have to figure something like that out where they can play a Diaz-Graham and Federico at the same time, play the Twins together, because there's only so many minutes to go around in a basketball game. And I'm thinking those are guys you're going to want to get on the court.
This season will be a big challenge for Capel. Might be one of the most talented rosters he had. Might be more talented this year than last year. People have been saying, we'll see. But there's so many different things he can do. Talk about Hinson being a matchup nightmare at the 4, which is where he usually played last year. And I think that's a spot where he fits in real well. But like you said, we're playing Guillermo at the 5, at the 4. Depending on the team we're playing, we might give them absolute hell. So I want to see a lot more of the Twins this year. I think they're going to be knocking down more threes. I think playing March did wonders for them. They probably have all the confidence in the world after that playing game. So I'm just really curious to see how they play these guys together. Because if they find a lineup that clicks, it could be like the Warriors death lineup, where it's like whenever this group of 5s out there, watch out. They're outscoring you and they're going to block you every time you shoot it.
I would be very disappointed if Capel doesn't at least test out a lineup with all 3 of them on the court.
Henson at the 2.
Henson at the 2. Just an absolutely massive lineup put out there. Mismatches everywhere. And it'll be fun. And I think that's something that we'll be able to say about this Pitt team this year. They're going to be fun. We're probably going to have stretches where we want to rip our hair out and we want to. There's going to be people calling for Capel's job again. He was a one-hit wonder. But I do think this Pitt team has a chance to be really, really good. And I don't know the last time I was this excited preseason for Pitt basketball. I know by the end of last year, we were all on the hype train. But preseason, it's been probably since the Dixon era, since I've been this excited about a basketball team before the season. And Pitt football's failures have probably fan that flame a little bit. But any final thoughts on the Hoops team?
It's gonna be fun. I'm gonna be in the Pete a lot this year. I was in the Pete a lot last year, and it was cool to see the excitement grow and grow and grow. Like there were weeknight games where it was empty, but you couldn't give tickets away. I'd have an extra ticket. Nobody could go. Nobody wanted to go. I just hunkered out by myself, grab some popcorn, and watch the Panthers play. I'm like, you know what? They looked really good tonight. And it kept happening. And by the end, Syracuse game, grand finale.
Wasn't an empty seat in the Pete.
Yeah. So I want to see how quickly we get to that point. I really hope there aren't like any bad losses in the non-conference. I don't think it could happen.
It's probably inevitable. It's probably inevitable.
I just don't want people to jump off the bandwagon early if there's a slip up and we lose badly to like Florida or West Virginia crushes us again. I just want to see a bump and Pete.
I hear you. Well, they kick it off against UPJ. Hopefully they take down your Mountain Cats. And then we got NCA&T on Monday. So
yeah, quick scouting report. UPJ picked to finish 5th in the PSAC West. So
how many teams are in the PSAC West?
Cats.
How many teams in the PSAC West?
6.
6? Okay. 5 out of 6. Good to know. All right. Well, hey, basketball is back. Thank you, Jeff Capel, for giving us a different team to watch. And, hey, we'll see you all at the Pete on Wednesday. You don't got nothing better to do.
It's not much of a secret that I have a home field apparel problem. Even before we started this show, I couldn't even step foot on a new college campus without making sure there was something from that school's home field collection waiting on my porch when I got home. So we are, understandably, over the moon to partner with Home Field this season to keep Pitt fans comfy, cozy, and stylish at a fraction of the price by using promo code LOYALSONS for 15% off your next order. This discount applies site-wide and with unique vintage collections for every school from Pitt to Bama, Jackson State to Colgate, Michigan, Marshall, Marquette, and both Miamis. There's something for every fan. So whether you're buying for a Pitt fan or for a loser freak, use promo code LOYALSONS at homefieldapparel.com to save big on your next order. Each code applies once per email address, so get those work emails and burners ready. That's homefieldapparel.com. We all know someone who's trying to figure out the next steps in their life. They're looking for something new, or maybe just a break.
What if there's a job opportunity for those looking to make a change that requires no experience and pays up to $19.50 an hour to start, plus 401k and healthcare benefits? Whether someone you know is in between jobs, transitioning careers, or even just a recent grad or current student on break, Haddad Accelerated Delivery is an Amazon delivery partner that offers flexible opportunities to those looking for work. Whether it's part-time or full-time, long-term, or just until you figure out your next big move, Haddad Accelerated Delivery offers the stability and professional development you need. If you know someone who might benefit from talking to the team at Haddad, have them text 464646 to apply. That's a text to 464646 to apply.
Well, we had our chance to talk basketball, but the Pitt football Panthers do play this Saturday. And they've got a pretty good team coming to town. Florida State Seminoles, undefeated, front runners to win the ACC right now, and pretty damn good chance to make the playoffs, ranked number 4 in the country. Squid, how excited are you for this game? 1 to 10.
I'm actually pretty excited to watch Florida State's receivers because they're all just massive and really good NFL prospects.
Yeah, Keon Coleman's a freak. I don't even want to imagine what he's going to do to our secondary on Saturday, but I guess we have to. We got another 3:30 kick for this game, and I think if you would have told me back in September, August, that the FSU game was going to be a 3:30 kick, I would tell you that's going to be one of the best days of my life. And now here we are, fast forward to October, and I'm absolutely miserable. Well, fast forward to November by the time this comes out. I'm absolutely miserable that this isn't a nooner, that we couldn't get out of the way early.
I'm just glad it's not a night game. I'll take 3:30, sleep in a little bit, maybe run some errands in the morning, get my life together before Pitt does whatever Pitt's going to do.
So, people listening, I know we sound down, but we are going to be there, and I think we have to give the people a reason to think that they also have to be there and cheer on our Panthers. First, it's the last Saturday tailgate of the year. Last home games against Boston College on a Thursday night. So it's our last Saturday we'll get to spend on the North Shore. We spend all year looking forward to Saturdays on the North Shore. And just like that, they're gone. So that's number one.
It's a big number one.
Huge number one, even. Last chance to eat Big Shot Bob's on a Saturday. Well, that's not exactly true. For free with us.
In a parking lot.
In a parking lot, yeah. Anything else? Any other reasons? That's all I got.
Okay, so my reason was Florida State related. I guess we can talk about the quarterbacks again. We can see which quarterback throws fewer interceptions or throws a touchdown, maybe.
Yeah, I would. So I think we're going to do a wish list here too, like reasons you should show up, but also like wish lists of things we'd like to see because we are showing up. I would like to see Vayer and Yarnell get snaps, get drives. And I guess it's not the best test it out and see how they look game because they are playing a team that's probably going to make the college football playoff. But at this point, I don't really know what you have to lose other than you are so certain that one of your guys is the guy. And I'm guessing, it would be Vayer because they're starting him. Unless you're so certain that Vayer is your guy moving forward and you just want to get him as many snaps as possible. But my counter argument to that would be they benched him last week against Notre Dame and brought Yarnell in, let him sling it a couple times, and he threw a touchdown. So I think at this point you have to at least give them both snaps to get them some in-game reps. And we talked about this in the Notre Dame recap. I want to see that Yarnell doesn't have it before he transfers away because Veyer is starting next year. I want to at least be able to see that with my own two eyes before trusting that the staff just didn't give him a chance and he's actually a reasonable option at quarterback.
There's straight up a real chance that this game is about as ugly as it was last week, and you simply cannot let one quarterback endure all of that.
Yeah.
So I think for that reason, there's a very, very high chance we see both of them, because it's like, well, we're not going to keep trotting you out and kill your confidence even more. So maybe try again next week.
Yeah, that's a good point. Veyer, I mean, the starter, well, it's going to be Veyer. He's going to take so many hits that they might, like you said, let Yarnell get in there, take some of those reps. Maybe they'll trot Ty Diefenbach out. Is he healthy? I think he dressed last week.
I've seen him on the sideline, and I think he's dressing. Yeah, sure.
Toss the freshman out there, see what he's got. No, don't do that. Poor kid.
Eli Kasanovich in his khakis.
Yeah, Eli in the khakis. So another item on my wish list. Can we please have good weather? I saw a high of 60, a low of 39. Please just give me a dry day where it's comfortable to be outside. I'd like to be comfortable in a hoodie and some sweatpants, sitting in the stadium. Nice fall day. Please don't let me. I really don't want to sit in the rain and watch this game.
Last one on my wish list. Short wish list. We're not asking for much. Gavin Bartholomew. Talked about it last episode. Narduzzi sat down with him and said, hey, we're going to give you the ball. Let's do it. How hard is it for a tight end to run out 5 yards, stop, and turn around? Or run 5 yards, cut in a little bit, and turn around. I see Travis Kelce do it like 14 times a week. Just force feed him the ball. Be like Bub Means week 1. Even if he's not open, just put it in his area, because it is stupid to not give the guy who's averaging like 24 yards per reception the ball a lot.
Shit, split him out if you have to. Well, split him out wide and let him go one-on-one with a little cornerback. Do something creative to get him the ball. But if he has any less than like 8 targets on Saturday, it's an abomination. And if he isn't made a focal point of the offense, let him go out there and try to ball out. Because at this point, I mean, once again, what do you have to lose other than Gavin Bartholomew? If you don't use him before the end of the season, and I'd be surprised already if he's not hitting the transfer portal or at least seeing what's out there, what interest he has. But give the kid a reason to think that you want to use him and that you want to make him a part of your team moving forward, because you haven't done it the last few weeks and you really haven't done it the last couple of years, despite all the evidence in the world pointing to him being a stud. So please, I'm not even going to give this a please win. Please throw Bart the ball. Please use him as part of the offense.
It would be hilarious if we win and we have 3 wins against the 2 best teams in the ACC and Wofford. Just need to address that theory.
Yeah, it would also be funny if Pitt goes 3-9, but their 2 losses their 2 wins over ACC teams cost the ACC a team in the playoff.
I think at that point, everyone will be so pissed off they just find the way out of the ACC. Like, we were cool with like trying to make this work, add some teams, that now fuck Pitt. You ruined it for all of us.
We're done. That would be about the most Pitt thing I could imagine, is they single-handedly just break the grant of rights.
Do you have an anti-wish list? I have one.
Yeah, go for it.
Speed option.
No speed option?
No.
Florida
State has some amazing defensive linemen. Let's not just run our quarterback directly at them.
Anti-wish list. No, just competent special teams play.
Punts over 30 yards would be nice.
Yeah, that's wish list item. Yeah, punt the ball more than 30, 35 yards. And yeah, just give me a beautiful Saturday. Last one I get to spend with all my closest friends.
Mm-hmm.
Until Saturdays at the Pete. Yeah, please use Gavin Bartholomew. Please show up to the North Shore on Saturday. Come hang out with us. Pitt can be as bad as they want to be or don't want to be. That still doesn't stop us from cracking open cold, icy lights and eating big shot bobs in the parking lot. So come have a party. Head into the game for a little bit. Head out. Go on about your day.
Have a stat correction before you lead us out, Dylan.
Go for it.
It's really been weighing on me. I slipped up and I said there are 6 teams in the PSAC West, and there's 9. For some reason, I forgot my cross-country team back in the day finished 16th at some point, so 6 teams in each division will not check out. So had to put that out there for all the PSAC fans.
Wait, so how many teams are in the PSAC? 18?
Yeah.
Sheesh. Well, that's your weekly dose of PSAC sports with Squid. Thanks for listening, everyone. See you on Saturday at the North Shore. See you at the Pitt exhibition game against UPJ at the Pete Wednesday night. Let's have a big bad week, Pitt sports. And as always, hail loyal sons of Pittsburgh.
Hey, Panther Nation. Have you ever crashed your spin scooter going down Cardiac Hill? Or wiped out on an icy sidewalk in South Oakland? Have you ever been hit by a bus crossing Forbes Avenue? Well, you may not have to pay that hospital bill on your own. If you're hurt in an accident, pick up the phone and call Guido at Gurrera Law. Guido Gurrera is a University of Pittsburgh Law School grad, Pitt football superfan, and experienced personal injury attorney who's licensed in Pennsylvania and Ohio. And it is 100% free to call him for consultation on your personal injury case. So the next time you get rear-ended in Oakland rush hour traffic, or if you fall down the stairs at Peters, call Guido. All joking aside, Oakland and the world can be a very dangerous place. If you need legal help, talk to Guido. He'll treat you like a fellow Pitt fan and never like a number. 412-229-7757 is the number to call. That's 412-229-7757 to call Guido. You can also contact Gurrera Law at GurreraLaw.com. That's Gurrera. Call Guido today.